Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Prophet and today is a special day. It's 31st of December, early morning. I'm sitting here watching the view, the sun is shining and I'm just thinking about everything that happened this year. And I just thought it would be a great opportunity to share with you how I'm thinking about developments this year, what went right, what went wrong versus what I thought initially, where we are going, some initial thoughts on 2026, um, and yeah, just an evaluation of what probably was one of the most chaotic, if not the most chaotic year in the last, probably since the fall of the Soviet Union. Maybe for Americans, 9/11 was a similar type of scenario, but it was only one event. I think 2025 definitely is the year that was the most chaotic. I think it's a new chapter in geopolitics. So yeah, let's go. I think I will go today through my 10 predictions for 2025, but I will also go through the main things that were happening because we've got everything. We've got Ukraine and repeated efforts for peace. We got Gaza and the eventual ceasefire that happened there. We have Venezuela that is developing as we speak. We also had some fightings in Yemen. We've got a war in South Sudan. So you see, there's plenty of events. Oh, and also Chinese are now doing live fire exercises around Taiwan. So I'll try to touch upon the main events in 2025, also outside of my 10 predictions, just to understand what was happening. So let's go. So over a year ago on December 28th, back when I had probably 50 subscribers here, I put out my 10 predictions for 2025. So let's see where we were a year ago, where everything was just ahead of us. So my first prediction was that AI will hit a roadblock, and I think that one is a 50-50. So I think where we got the most progress is with Nano Banana Pro, for example. So it's photo AI, it's video AI with Sora. I think that's the bad part of my thesis. I think we definitely got a lot of progress there. But I do think that when it comes to just regular LLMs, then the progress between, I don't know, Grok 3 I was using at the beginning of the year and Grok 4.1 I'm using now, the difference isn't that staggering. It's not AGI, it's not even close. And I think this year also the benchmarks weren't really top. So let's see some of the markets around AI this year that were already, for example, resolved. I don't think that's the best approach, probably, because every single month here. But let's look at frontier math. This is active. Okay, yeah, we got an AI model scoring over 90% on frontier math benchmark. This question was asked, as you see, back in February, where traders are basically giving around 25%. I think I would have given lower, probably something around 10. And the prediction turned out to be true. Now we also basically at 23% till the end of the year. And I do realize that benchmarks are not representative of real world use, let's call it that way, but they're indicative of general progress, especially since a lot of those AI labs are actually training the models to perform best on benchmarks. Like, understandably, they want to boast about the performance, and this is the easiest way to do it. So I think this was a fairly good year for AI overall. especially around our video and photos. But I think it was just a mediocre year when it comes to the growth of pure like, word LLMs. I don't think the progress is really what a lot of us were expecting back in the middle of 2024. And I think that the idea that there is a limited amount of data that I was speaking about and the quality of data is really deteriorating, combined with the fact that there is also a limited amount of compute that's also really expensive, was a good approach. I think the fact that a lot of people are talking about the AI bubble also confirms that what we reached this year was only possible because literally hundreds uh, of billions of dollars were spent to make it happen. And these are numbers that will be really, really hard to justify moving forward. Uh, if you spend this much, then pretty soon a lot of those investors will have to think about returns. We'll have to think about a path towards profitability. You know the story. For example, a lot of startups went through this path. I think the best example is Uber, Uber, whatever you call it. They were heavily incentivizing demand and supply. When they were growing, they were spending also millions, if not billions. They were losing a lot of money. And right when they were about to IPO, there was just a directive: we need to be profitable. So the costs were cut, the demand incentives, so the promotions you saw disappeared. Basically, the prices increased. The drivers also started to complain about earnings, and we reached a new equilibrium on the marketplace. And I guess something similar can be possible with AI. AI will become a lot more expensive, pretty much as good as it is now, but it will be mostly used, for example, in enterprise settings. Like, I don't know, this is not like 10 predictions for 2026, but I guess I can put a small prediction here and there, one example, because I wanted to do a bigger article or a video on this once the markets for 2026 also appear on Polymarket. But since we are on the 31st, I can do a few loose predictions. So one of them being we should probably see some change in how freely money is spent on AI. And I think I will close with that. I'll take a half of an L on the first prediction and just move on. So the second thing, so Donald Trump will fail to deliver. And I think I need to explain myself because it's not about delivering chaos. That he's perfect when it comes to that. But I'm saying about all of those promises we had back in 2024, some of them simple, some of them outrageous, and I think a lot of them just were pretty much forgotten. So we have Doge, right? So Doge is probably non-existent right now. Like no one's speaking about Doge. Doge never really achieved anything. As you see, initially people even thought that saving above $250 billion is possible, but pretty soon afterwards it turned out that Doge will cut less than 50 billion in spending, and the initiative pretty much disappeared. We also had Department of Education, and even before 2027, traders gave it 15% that Trump will end the Department of Education. This was a big talking point during the campaign, and I think no one even remembers it at this point. So this is another thing that Trump failed to deliver. I think we also have deportations. Do we have anything here? Migrants. as a first take. Oh, here, how many people will Trump deport in 2025? And this is also another market where we are basically on or touching the lower bracket. Here we are at between 250,000 to 500,000 people deported. And as you remember, the promises were that there will be millions of people being deported, that there are like 20 million people uh, that are illegal immigrants in the US. So, but the simple reality is that Trump can't do anything if he doesn't have money for it. And this is basically how much Congress allowed him to spend, and this is the result. So, what I'm trying to probably show here is that there are a lot of hopes around Trump presidency, and I think out of all those hopes, what we've got was chaos, because we've got chaos with tariffs, we've got chaos with wars, we've got the US and so Trump being pretty much unable to really influence the allies, mainly Europe. So we've got a internal conflict in Team West. Um, there is zero coordination, I would say, at this point between the US and main allies. The priorities are different, and I think a lot of this could have been avoided if with proper communication. It's a bit of a shame, but ultimately, uh, I think we'll have a good check on how is Trump doing during the midterms. I think there is a pretty high chance that Democrats might actually win the House or even the Senate, depending on how 2026 goes. So I think this will be the very good indication of what people are thinking, and from what I see, a lot of them are uh, actually pretty unhappy with the result they are currently seeing. Moving on, we have Europe will go into a recession, and here I think it was a bit bold. I don't think we got any markets on it. Let's see if we got Germany GDP. We have, yeah, not the best market. Uh, Germany GDP growth 2025. Uh, Gemini is saying 0.2% for 2025. Trading economics. What do we have here? So we have Q1 0.3, Q2 is minus 0.2, and Q3 we've got 0. So full year minus 0.5%. I could say we're pretty close. Like, obviously, the title here is a bit of a simplification. Like, Europe collectively is not a single entity, a single economy, so not everyone can go under at the same time. But I think the the main symptoms I described here. So the auto industry, it's dismal in Germany. What here? What else do we have? Uh, yeah, I'm not predicting a total collapse. However, being in Europe myself, I can already see the increased hardship due to the pandemic that was followed by high inflation. In 2025, I see the hardship increasing with deteriorating hope around an economic rebound. And I think this is the same vibe we have right now. I think a lot of Europeans are struggling, and migration is more and more of an issue. inflation stopped being an issue, but high prices still are an issue because those never came down. I think the stark realities of the war with Ukraine are also hitting hard, especially in Eastern Europe. And I see 2026 as another year in which Europe struggles to understand its own destiny, struggles to actually put itself on a path. Because like even now we had when Europe was discussing financing for Ukraine, the expectation was that they will tap into the frozen Russian assets. That would be a good signal also for Ukraine that Europe is serious about supporting it for the foreseeable future, that they really are able and willing to put skin in the game like they never did before. And even then, they couldn't agree. So I think that 2026 will be a tough year for Europe. I think there will be a lot of changes. We have elections in Hungary that are approaching. We have constant issues in France. I will talk about France also later on. We have also issues in Germany, where AfD is getting stronger and stronger. And we have issues in Poland, where the current government, even with if there was no snap election this year that I was seeing as a possibility, I think Poland enters 2026 in a deep conflict between the president and the government. And I think this conflict will only paralyze the country. And this is just yet another sign of how difficult it is in Europe. So I don't think there is anyone listening to this that doesn't agree with this assessment. Anyway, let me know in the comments if it's otherwise. But let's move on, and we have elections. So my prediction was that France will have another elections. We didn't have it. What we had was constant changes in French prime minister. As you see, the current one is already pretty much set to not be prime minister by the end of next year. French prime minister. We've got like 22% odds we will have French elections next year. So we also, as you see, oh, you don't see, we have something here. And we've got 1 week. This is October. Oh, because I was looking at the wrong market. So at some point we even reached 80% chances that we will have French elections called by the end of the year. This is related to the simple fact that the current government in France is a minority government that doesn't really have popular support, and they are unable to pass the budget. And this will be a rolling problem now because they failed to pass the budget this year as well. They passed like a resolution that allows them to spend on the same level they did till the end of January, and we'll probably have the same issue throughout 2026. Basically, as long as Macron is still president, we'll have those issues because he also doesn't have a lot of popular support. The situation in France is kind of similar to the situation in Germany, where a lot of people are very angry about migration, and they see Marine Le Pen and her party as the solution. So we can draw a parallel between Germany and AfD and France and Marine Le Pen. So moving forward, let's stay with elections because France didn't have elections, but we had pretty important elections in Europe this year. And I think it's pretty worthy to start with Romania. We need to resolve market. Yep. So we need some proper people here. We need Kalin. We need George Simon, Elena Lasconi, anyone else? Marcel Siolaku. Up to 4 options. Marcel. No chances at all. Yep. Like Nico Sordan, Kalin, and George Simon. These were the top candidates, and as you see here, the situation got pretty wild at the very end because pretty much everyone thought it's George Simon, so the right-wing guy, which would be indicative of the current vibe in Europe. Let's call it that way. But ultimately, Nico Sordan, who is a liberal, won the presidency at the very last moment. And here we are. This was the first shocker of 2025, first shocking election in Europe. And yeah, it was followed closely by election in Poland. So Poland. And here you see very similar situation. Like those guys are irrelevant. We should have here Mr. Mentzen, and we probably shouldn't have anyone else. There was no one even close. So this is also a funny campaign. This was also probably my best market this year. As you know, made a lot of money here, backing Nawrocki. This was a very similar situation to what we got in Romania, but alliances were reversed. So it was the liberal guy, Trzaskowski, who was pretty much the favorite each step of the way. Here you have the first round, so it's a really momentary change. Yep, and ultimately it was the right-wing Karol Nawrocki who won, and now we have pretty much a very deep crisis because Nawrocki is making the government paralyzed because of his veto power. So this was another very important election in Europe. This time it went to the right wing, and it will be very consequential for what we see in 2026, especially since Poland is a frontier state next to Ukraine, and a lot of like anything happens in Ukraine, if it's peace or it's boots on the ground from Europe, pretty much everything goes through Poland. So the fact that Nawrocki won, I think it makes the situation interesting for 2026. Let's call it that way. There are also other elections like Netherlands, but I don't think any other election was as consequential and as contested as the one in Romania and Poland. And we shall see more of it because 2026 we've got Portugal first, which is not really interesting, but it's because Portugal is not a frontier state in any war, but they also have migration problems, and if the right wing manages to actually get a decent result or even win the Portuguese presidential election, then it will be very indicative of the mood that their country is in Europe and what we can expect from other elections. Because I think in May, mid-year, we have elections in Hungary, which are probably the most consequential at the moment. Hungary is a thorn in the side of Ursula von der Leyen and other Europeans. So this one will be definitely something I will be watching. I will be watching if Viktor Orban manages to hold on to power and yep, pretty much keep Europe hostage in the future. Going next, we have Bitcoin, and this is probably the worst of my predictions ever, because Bitcoin was probably the only crypto that really had a decent performance this year. Ethereum, it was tragic. Solana as well, and I don't even want to speak about other altcoins. Uh, I'm not really that much invested in crypto, especially altcoins. I spend most of my time on Polymarket anyway. But yep, I really thought that with Ethereum or ETF and the vibe that we got with Trump presidency coming in, we'll have a real rally in all kinds of alternative tokens. But we never get it. We never got it. No comment here. Besides that, probably there are more qualified yappers around who can spend an hour talking about crypto. So Doge will do nothing. I think I covered that pretty well with Trump doing nothing he promised. Oh, here, remember Vivek? I think now he's back in the limelight, but for all the wrong reasons. The resurgence of inflation. Yep. So here my thesis was simple. I think like I expected Powell to bend quicker. I expected him to cut a lot sooner with the pressure that he got from Trump. He didn't, but now we've got the cutting cycle. The inflation is back hot. Like unless you trust the last CPI report, which is proved to be fake. Uh, Supposedly due to shutdown, but realistically to show a lot better results across the board, because inflation calculation also impacts things like real GDP. So the 4.3% growth year on year Trump is boasting about is not exactly that. I don't want to really spend time on inflation here. I think we'll have a drastically different Fed next year with the new president, new chairman of the board. And I think I will commit a full article on how I see the new Fed once we get the nomination in. I I mentioned some of it in the last space, I think, on how I see the Fed interest rate markets developing next year. I think those will be one of the most interesting, the most volatile markets that will consistently have a lot of volume. So this is definitely a topic of interest for anyone thinking about deploying capital on prediction markets. This is where the action is, and yep, I think this will be also the topic of a really hot debate around what is the role of a central bank in a country. Right, no lasting peace in Middle East and North Africa. Uh, and let's say it was a 50-50 here as well, although I'm mostly right, because North Africa is a pretty big region and we got a lot of developments here. But anyway, we got war pretty much for the whole year. We got US strikes from Iran, we've got Gaza, we got Yemen recently, we have Israel now recognizing Somaliland. We've got South Sudan, we've got Sudan and the fighting there. So I think this is like a prediction that that fulfilled itself 100%. There is no lasting peace in Middle East. This was also an easy prediction, but a lot of people were saying that with Trump in, the peace will come. We will have peace in Gaza in a matter of weeks, and then everything will be golden. But the reality on the ground is that nothing is golden, and we've got fighting everywhere in the region. It's just the theaters of war that changed. We moved from Gaza to Yemen, from Lebanon and Syria to Sudan, and most likely other African countries in the region in the near future. So as you see, even if the situation in Syria and Lebanon stabilizes, there are two places worth increased attention. One is North Africa, where divergence, serving as divergence of attention from the east of the Mediterranean basin to the south. It still keeps the US busy in the region and gives space for Iran to lick its wounds. So I think that's one part of what's happening right now. And the other part is Strait of Hormuz and Bab al-Mandab Strait. So Iran is still in partial control, and they might be a hot place moving forward. And I think with the recognition of Somaliland, we've got a direct escalation in the Bab al-Mandab Strait, where Israel now will probably have access to all kinds of infrastructure, including ports. And the last prediction, the last real one, which is no peace in Ukraine, I think. Got one more day, last 24 hours. And while it looks like some kind of progress was made, and I think there is a real possibility we might see there is a window of opportunity that have opened that basically allows two parties to at least try and have peace and gamble on the result of it, with all of parties feeling that they can get something out of the situation. I'll develop my thesis in the near future. I've got a pretty busy schedule coming up because we have predictions for 2026, which probably will be a video. We've got an article on part 2 on global turmoil, so what will happen in Southeast Asia. We have the Portuguese election that I'm planning to focus on, and we have peace in Ukraine, which I think will be on the agenda for some time to come. So definitely worth checking out my X on Prophet Notes with Prophet, this dash that is on the floor, notes, I forgot the name, or on prophetnotes.com, which is my Substack newsletter. If you're serious about trading, or if you're just interested in how the situation might look like in the future, have a look, because there are not a lot of geopolitical analysts who can actually put skin in the game and be profitable in the long term. So, yep, I don't want to keep you here for much longer. I think we went through everything in 2025, every major development that there was. Be on the lookout for the video for 10 predictions for 2026, where I will go into more detail with some of the loose predictions I made today. So thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. I also plan to make those videos a bit better, more interactive. Like right now, it's just me yapping to a screen. So expect some nice developments in the next few weeks while I learn some video editing, and hope you'll have a great celebration. And I wish you all a great 2026 despite all the chaos we might see. Stay strong, and see you in 2026.